It is October 1st, which means that spooky, scary skeletons will send shivers down your spine as Halloween is right around the corner. And of course, we got to talk about video game news because a lot of stuff has been happening recently that I definitely want to talk about. To start things off, we're going to talk about Sony because there's some major shakeups going on at Sony right now that involve the future of the company and the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. And then we got to talk about Nintendo because Nintendo kind of lied and it kind of feels a bit deceptive and it kind of feels a bit scummy about this situation. So what's going on with Sony? What are these major changes and what did Nintendo actually lie about? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about what's going on in the world of video game news. So first off, let's kick things off and talk about Sony because there's some major shakeups going on at Sony, and honestly, I'm a bit confused by all this. Now, when you think of video game companies, there's usually a figurehead that you assimilate with that company. For many years with Nintendo, of course, it was Reggie Fils-Aimé. Reggie Fils-Aimé recently left Nintendo, putting Doug Bowser in charge, so now we're starting to shift to the Doug Bowser era of Nintendo and starting to think of him when we think of Nintendo. When it comes to Microsoft and the Xbox brand, you think of Phil Spencer, the good old snake oil salesman. I'm still not really sold on Phil Spencer, but of course he is sort of the face of the Microsoft brand and of course the face of the Xbox brand. And for many years, Sony also had that figurehead. It was Shawn Layden. You might remember at subsequent E3s that we've seen over the years, Shawn Layden was always out there talking about the latest and greatest with coming to PlayStation. When we had the last Game Awards, we of course had Shawn Layden, Phil Spencer, and Reggie Fils-Aimé all on stage together, all of the figureheads of these companies, and it was a very big moment for video games and video game history. Well, of course, since the Game Awards, like I said, Reggie Fils-Aimé has left Nintendo, but when Reggie Fils-Aimé left Nintendo, it was a big to-do. There was big Twitter posts, there was videos about it, people were talking about it. Of course, Reggie gave his 2 cents on the situation. It really felt like something big was happening. And now Shawn Layden has left Sony, but it's definitely a very different fanfare than what happened with, of course, Reggie leaving Nintendo, and it's got a lot of people questioning what is actually going on in this situation. So last night, the official PlayStation Twitter account put out a tweet saying that Shawn Layden was no longer a part of Sony. The tweet says the following: "It is with great emotion that we announce that Worldwide Studios chairman Shawn Layden will be departing SIE. His visionary leadership will be greatly missed. We wish him success in future endeavors and are deeply grateful for his years of service. Thanks for everything, Shawn." Now, when you first look at this tweet, probably nothing really sticks out to you, but something definitely stuck out to me in this tweet is the fact that they did not even tag Shawn Layden in this tweet. Shawn Layden obviously has a Twitter. He's pretty active on Twitter. And when you go to Shawn Layden's Twitter account, there's no sort of showing that he was going to be leaving the company anytime soon. There's no sort of statement from him talking about leaving the company. To me, this feels like Jan from accounting got laid off and Sony was like, hey, good job, Jan, we love you, see you later. Like, this is a big deal. This is a big to-do. And to have such little fanfare and so many questions are now emerging from this, it really is a very shocking situation. Why did Shawn Layden leave? What actually happened? Was this a spur-of-the-moment decision? Has this been something that's been leading up? And if it's been something that's been leading up, why has there been no sort of announcement or some sort of indication that this was going to be happening? Sony, of course, is getting ready to go into the PS5 era, so you would think that they would want to have all their T's crossed and their I's dotted when it comes to the PS5, and getting rid of a major figurehead such as Shawn Layden in such a strange manner, I don't know. I'm kind of into conspiracy theories, and I definitely think there's something more to this situation that we might find about in the weeks to come. But yes, Shawn Layden is no longer a part of Sony, and it's definitely a very curious situation. So let me know in the comments section down below what you think of Shawn Layden just suddenly departing Sony and what this says about the future of the company. Next up, we got to talk about the PlayStation Now service because some major changes are coming to PlayStation Now that will definitely appease to gamers. Now, of course, PlayStation Now is a similar service to Xbox Game Pass. Back in the day when I first got my PS4, I did check out PS Now, but I really wasn't a fan of it. All of the games were sort of streaming. I didn't have the best internet at the time, so there was a lot of latency issues. There was a lot of issues actually just playing the games. So after my 1-week trial was done, I never got into the service. The service was a bit expensive. I thought the game library at that time was a little bit weak, but since then, Sony has done things to improve it. Of course, one of the major things is that now you can download the games natively onto your PS4 so that you can play them offline without needing an internet connection. Of course, this also expanded to the PC as well, really giving gamers a lot more games, but the price point was always very unattractive, especially compared to Xbox Game Pass. Well, today, PlayStation Now has gotten a big update, and there's actually some very big improvements coming, and one of those improvements is in the price point, and now has a much lower price point. Now, if you got PlayStation Now, it used to be $20 a month or $100 a year in the United States. Well, they've improved the price point, and now it is only $10 a month if you go on a month-to-month subscription service, or $59.99, $60 a year. So that's definitely a big improvement on the price of this. And they're also adding in new content to make it more attractive to people wanting to check out PlayStation Now. There's now going to be something called marquee games. Now, these games will be available in a timed window where you can download these games and play these games on either your PS4 or your PC. Now, the first batch of marquee games includes the following. You have Grand Theft Auto 5, you have Infamous Second Son, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, and God of War. Yes, the God of War that sold very, very well on the PlayStation 4. One of the best games, arguably of all time, a fantastic game that I absolutely loved, is now going to be available on PlayStation Now. Like I said, these are the marquee games. Now, these games will be available from October 1st, 2019 till January 2nd, 2020. So you have a pretty long window to actually play these games, and then they will be siphoned out for different marquee games. Now, like I said, these won't impact the games that you regularly get on PlayStation Now. They will still be adding in games regularly. These are just supplemental games. I definitely think this is a step in the right direction for PlayStation Now. It's definitely more competitively priced against the Xbox Game Pass, and it might actually bring in some new people. You know, adding in things like God of War and Grand Theft Auto 5 are obviously a very, very big deal, as these are huge games. So I think a lot of people will probably check out PlayStation Now. It'll be interesting to see if Nintendo does some sort of reactionary thing to this, as now they're the only company without a standard subscription service, unless you count the NES and SNES online games, but I don't think anyone really counts them. But it's definitely interesting to see this subscription model really picking up steam. Will it be profitable for these companies, though? As when you look at companies like Netflix, they're constantly losing money. That's going to remain to be seen, but as a supplementary thing, I think it's pretty cool. Sound the alarm! We've got a Nintendo Switch firmware update. We are now at firmware update 9.0.1, and it just adds in really extra stability. They fixed a little Joy-Con issue, and they got rid of the issue where when you got a Nintendo Switch Lite, it asked you to detach a Joy-Con, and you obviously couldn't do that. It didn't impair you setting up the system. But yeah, other than that, it's just stability stuff. So if you're looking for a very stable operating system, Nintendo Switch firmware 9.0.1 definitely has you covered. Mitch, people have been asking about you. What do you think about the firmware update? Thank you, Mitch. Thank you. And finally, Nintendo is a company that I obviously enjoy. I cover a lot of Nintendo stuff on this channel, but when a company lies about something, you gotta call them out. And the first instance that I want to talk about maybe isn't necessarily a lie, but it's something that has been forgotten about, and it's something that definitely needs to be addressed. The second instance, though, it's definitely a lie, and some Switch owners are definitely upset by this. So the first instance, let's talk about Super Mario Maker 2. Now, Super Mario Maker 2, of course, came out at the tail end of June. We talked about it on the channel. I absolutely loved the game. I thought it was a really fantastic game. And of course, when Super Mario Maker 2, before it was released, there was a bit of a controversy. The online aspect of the game was going to be regulated to just randoms only. You weren't going to be able to play online with your friends. And a lot of people were upset by this. Well, Nintendo quickly sent out a statement saying, we are going to add friend play into Super Mario Maker 2's online. It'll come in a subsequent update for the game, so don't you worry. And everyone was happy about that. Everyone was like, great, Nintendo listened to us. Now we're going to be able to play with our friends, and this will be a great thing. But since then, it's been radio silent, and I mean radio silent on everything with Super Mario Maker 2. There hasn't been any additional content to this game, and of course, we have not gotten the ability to play with friends. We are now in October, and there has still been no updates on what is going on with Super Mario Maker 2. When you look at Super Mario Maker on the Wii U, that game was constantly getting updates. That game was constantly getting new content as well. Considering Nintendo said that they were going to include friend play into Super Mario Maker 2's online, and we haven't heard a single peep about it since the beginning of June, something is very suspect with that. I'm not saying that it's a lie, but I'm saying that it's something that's obviously been forgotten about. How long are we going to have to wait in order to play online with our friends? How long are we going to wait in order to see more content come to this game? It's definitely a stark contrast between Super Mario Maker and Super Mario Maker 2 when it comes to content, and to see no updates for this game is definitely very strange, considering how online is an important component of this game. So I'm not necessarily saying that is a lie, but it's something that definitely needs to be addressed. As the longer it goes on, it seems like Nintendo may be forgetting about the fact that they said that friend play was going to come to this. But the second instance is definitely Nintendo lying to Switch owners, and a lot of Switch owners are unhappy about this, and I can definitely see why. So Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, of course, another game that we covered on this channel. I literally sat in the same position for 10 hours to play through the story mode of that game. I had an absolute blast with that game. I really enjoyed all of the characters, all the environments that you went into, but of course, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 was going to be getting paid paid DLC. Now, I wasn't too interested in the paid DLC aspect of the game. Sure, they were adding in some new characters. They said that there was going to be new story elements as well, but I was definitely curious to see how all this would pan out, and then maybe I would pick up a season pass a bit down the road if the content looked good. Well, the first paid DLC came out, and Nintendo sent out a tweet a few days ago about this paid DLC that said the following: Ultimate Alliance 3: The Black Order is available now. In Marvel Knights: Curse of the Vampire, take on a new story scenario and battle as Punisher, Blade, Moon Knight, or Morbius, or try new challenges in the Gauntlet mode, #MUA3. Now, upon first glance, everything seems fine with this tweet. You know, they're basically saying what's going to be included, but people that are actually downloading this DLC pack are quickly realizing something. There's no additional story content. When you think of additional story content, you would think of new content included in the game, actual story elements that play into the story part of the game. But people are quickly finding out that these are just added things into the Gauntlet missions. You're still going into the same areas. Sure, some of the text has been changed up a little bit, but you're still going into these same areas just with different characters. It's not really story related, it's just for the Gauntlet mode. And if you're unfamiliar with what the Gauntlet mode is, it's basically time challenges in which you're trying to accomplish something in a certain amount of time with certain things, you know, hindering your progress or even helping your progress. Certain characters getting buffed, certain characters getting nerfed, things like that. It's not really story conducive to the game. It's just a way to unlock more stuff. They did include an additional difficulty, but there is no additional story content. And a lot of people are a bit upset by this, and nobody is really talking about this situation. I've seen a few people like Liam Robertson talk about it on Twitter, but aside from that, nobody's talking about this. And this really is just a straight up lie. There is no additional story content. All Nintendo really has to do is come out and say, hey, there's no additional story content, but by saying there is story content to your 10.1 million Twitter followers, some people are going to pick this up with the notion of thinking, hey, there's going to be additional story stuff in this game. That would actually appeal to me if there was additional story content, but the fact that it's just Gauntlet stuff, I don't know, that definitely seems very skeezy to me. It's definitely some very misleading wording, and it really just feels like a straight up lie. So let me know in the comment section down below if you've picked up Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3's DLC, and if you are also disappointed by the lack of real story content in this DLC pack. Alright, so that is what is going on in the world of video game news, so be sure to let me know in the comment section down below what you think of Shawn Layden leaving PlayStation, what you think of PlayStation now improving, and what do you think of Nintendo kind of lying about some stuff. And as always, guys, thanks for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Be sure to check out other videos on the channel. Be sure to look at the pinned comment in the comment section down below. I'm giving away a Nintendo Switch Lite. There's still plenty of time to enter, so make sure you guys enter that contest. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.